Welcome to Flyover Conservative Podcast with David and Stacy Whited, where we break down current events and examine culture through the lens of conservative Christian values. Hello, Flyover family. Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome to you. I love your shirt.
Thank
Socialism distancing.
Socialism distancing.
That is
You
awesome.
got to keep your distance from socialists.
That is so true.
It's hard. There's more of them all the time.
Oh
Every time you turn around, there's another one.
Our job is to wake them up so they are not socialists.
We got a vaccine. We're out there inoculating socialists from their messed up thinking. And today's episode is going to help you to do that. It's going to help you wake up, speak up, and show up on another level because we've got a special guest. It's going to blow your mind. It's going to help get your mind right.
For sure. If you are new to Flyover Conservatives, make sure you check us out on Rumble. Go to rumble.com/Flyover Conservatives. Also
very fitting for our guest today.
That's true.
Rumble.
Exactly. Also, want to make sure you text us. This is very important because you just never know where we might be. With today, you just never know.
Speaking of socialists.
Exactly. So text us at 816-579-1144. 816-579-1144. Text the word flyover, but make sure the word is together. One word, none of the parentheses, nothing around it, just fly over, one word. Very important. So we're getting messages from people that are doing it fly over two words, and it's not getting you the messages that you're asking for.
It's a lot simpler than you're making this. It's a lot easier. You're making this way too hard. Also, don't text us. Please add me to your text group.
No, just flyover.
Text word flyover. That's it.
We are excited to have you as part of the family. And also make sure you registered for the newsletter. Go to flyoverconservatives.com. We have had the most incredible volunteer helping. Micah has gone in and recreated the newsletter. It looks so cool. So when you go to Flyover...
He took it from newsletter to newsletter. This thing's
did.
Amazing.
It's amazing.
And we have some of the best blog writers around that are contributing to that. The blog is on the website, flyoverconservatives.com, but also comes out with the newsletter each Friday morning. So
Yep. And you can check out merchandise when you get to flyoverconservatives.com. There is, it's my favorite. It says Trump 2021, but it says WON instead of the number one.
Very clever.
I know, it's very clever. We've got camo.
Came out of this CPU right here. The new Apple M1 chip right there.
But also we have it in cheetah, so we've got it in both. They are really cool. And the cool kids are wearing it. We did see it on the 11th hour with Robin Bullock with his daughter, Krista.
Krista Bullock was wearing it on the 11th hour.
We've arrived.
It's literally taking the country by storm. You don't want to be the last one to get parachute pants. You want to be at the front end of this trend, so get yours now. Otherwise, you'll be the last kid at the lunch table to have one.
That's true. And they are really cool. So, hey, I'm so excited. Let's talk about our guest today.
I'm excited. You start making lists of people you would like to have on your show when you do this. And now that we're about 6-month veterans at this process.
I know, we're just getting old.
We're now savvy, long of tooth podcasters. But you make a list of people that you would like to have. And one of the first ones went on what we called our Dream 100 was today's guest.
I know.
He's one of the hardest hitting punchers, boxers in heavyweight history. At 6 feet 5 inches, he's a monster of a man, and we watched many of his highlights, and a lot of them didn't last very long because one hit from this guy.
I know, they are gone out.
Sayonara, sweetheart. Also, is one of the highest ratio of first-round knockouts that rivaled any person to ever box in the history of the sport. We're going to find out more about that today, but more importantly, what he's doing to wake up, speak up, and show up and use all of his skills, all of his experiences to put them all on the table to help save America and do the same thing that a lot of you are doing. Like, what can I personally do to play a role in saving this country? So, no further ado, I'm sure you know who we're talking about. It's the one, the only, David Nino Rodriguez.
Yay!
Look at him. Look at him. His great smile.
Welcome.
His Eye of the Tiger Rocky 3 shirt. He's got the great teeth. He could do toothpaste commercials.
He could.
He's
boxer with all his teeth.
I know.
He's got all his teeth. He's got the eyeglasses to basically saying, I could beat you up or I could outthink you.
True.
It's like, it's a dual threat. He's like a triathlete of mental games as well. Welcome to Flyover Conservative Podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm excited about being on your show. JuanO'Savin made the connection, and I said, I've seen your shows before, but I'm just excited to be here. So yeah, thank you for having me.
We're scrappy. We're growing quickly. We have dozens and dozens of listeners, and and
Dozens of
um,
listeners.
and we're having a blast doing it. But it gives us the opportunity to do something I would want to be doing if there was no podcast, which is have a conversation with somebody who's making stuff happen.
Yeah.
Has a history of it.
And
so
that is you.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So we kind of selfishly self-serving a lot of these times. We're talking to doctors or different people. I'm like, I would go have coffee with this dude anyway. And now we just get to share it with other people. So tell people a little bit about your background and history. I hope I didn't mess up the boxing resume there a little bit, but we did spend some time watching your highlights.
Oh my gosh, it was so cool. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, just like one, bam, they're gone.
She did 9 rounds. She did a 9 rounds franchise for a while, and she had a heck of an uppercut. So she kind of has appreciation for that as well.
Yeah, I know. It was one hell of a career, man. I was 36-0 in my prime. 6-belt heavyweight champion. I won 6 different belts. Had more first round knockouts than anybody. 25 first round knockouts. And it was just an amazing ride, an amazing career. Just looking at these highlights, I miss it so much. You have no idea. There's things I loved about boxing and things I hated. It was like a bad marriage. But at the end of my career, some things happened. I almost lost my life twice.
I really want to get into that story, because there's some key moments, and you never know when you're going through life when those moments are. Sometimes you only know looking back. But I got one question: if you liked boxing so much, then why were so many of your fights so short?
Because I had a lot of anger in me, and I was a power puncher. I was a boxer. I was a boxer puncher type fighter. I could punch in bunches and move well, and I just had heavy hands, and anytime I hit somebody, it was just like this synergy would go through my body to where I knew I was going to knock them out. It was just about how I wanted to knock them out, really. It was an incredible career. I had an incredible gift for putting people to sleep.
Well, it's important to find your calling, and also I think it's important for people to realize you probably have more than one calling.
Yeah.
In life, a lot of people don't figure that out. You have.
Yeah, I felt like at some point in my life, it was just like there was a crossroads with all these different paths I could have taken, and I took boxing only because I was a troubled adolescent. Well, I started at a very young age, at 5 years old, but I could have done football. I could have been a musician. I could have done. At one point, I feel I could have chosen any path and gone for it. And boxing was what possessed me. I say possessed because I felt like it picked me. I didn't pick it. And I was always in trouble. I wasn't able to play football because I was in trouble in school all the time. And the only place that took me in was the boxing gym. So the boxing gym was my sanctuary. That was the only place that I could go to find peace, and it was a sanctuary to me.
But you were a mixed bag of nuts though as a kid, because you were. I've researched you a little bit here. You were a choir boy, but also put dog poop in a teacher's desk, and I don't think people knew you were bobbing and weaving just as behavior as a kid. They didn't know what was coming.
The teachers hated having me in their class. I remember I overheard 2 teachers talking. I think it was in 6th, 7th grade. They're like, oh no, I got Rodriguez. I have Rodriguez. And I heard them talking to each other. Well, some kids you just can't fix. I heard the other teachers saying it, and I heard the whole conversation. I was like, I like this. I was like, all right.
Oh my gosh.
But the principal in Lincoln Junior High was a great man. He did his best to keep me in school, put his chair in the principal's office, and I went there every day. He knew I had a lot of energy, so he'd let me shadow box in the principal's office. I'd move and make all the people there in the principal's office laugh and crack jokes on them. And I just wasn't meant for
traditional school.
Traditional stuff.
Yeah.
Nah, I was a showman even back then, and I loved going to the principal's office. I used to love to go talk to him and sit. I'd come knock on his door. He's like, "You're supposed to be in class." I'm like, "I know, but just listen. I got a joke for you." And he'd be like, "Oh my gosh!" And they didn't know what to do with me. It was just
wow.
I ran the whole school. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh! And then you had a police officer that really was big on helping you too. Like he actually caught you skipping school at the gym, right? And then was like, okay, if you go to school, I'll take you to the gym. Tell that story. I think that's pretty powerful.
Well, I was I was about 12 or 13 years old, and I actually knocked him out.
Oh
Um,
no.
he's a huge dude, man. He was a UTEP football player, and I asked some scrawny kid there. I bet you can't. The coach there was like, spar this kid, and he got in with me and bink, and
Oh.
he couldn't believe it. He's like, I've never seen anything like this. And then he says, man, what? He goes, why aren't you in school? And I was like, I like coming here, obviously. And he's like, listen, if you can finish school, he goes, I'll pick you up every day. And he did. He picked me up every day from school in a police car sometimes, not every time. And kids would be like, oh no, David's getting arrested. And he would take me to the boxing gym and he would train with me. He was a boxer as well. And
Wow.
he even fought pro. So he was like a brother to me. And he just, he really just, he saved my life, man, in so many ways. I mean, I was always getting in trouble, so he'd be one of the first people to show up to the crime scene, and and you know, pretend he was putting the cuffs on me. He'd put them on light, and then he would just take me home and tell my parents, "Hey." And I ended up changing my ways. I mean, I knew what I could get away with and stuff like that when I was a kid, but you grow out of it, and it's and then I started dedicating my life to boxing, and I became very strict on myself and very regimented, and I decided that that's what I was going to pour my all my dreams and aspiration into, was being a heavyweight champion fighter, and that's what I did, and boxing really kept me straight. First God's number one, and through God, I believe boxing was delivered to me, and it saved my life, because I don't think I would have been a very good career criminal. So boxing saved my life, and it's sad that it's over now. I miss it a lot. I miss that special place in the ring, but Father Time is undefeated, and I'm only getting older. I'm not getting younger, so I had to step away, and I had back surgery and two near death experiences that I flatlined, and just recently quit alcohol, so I'm sober now, and my life has completely changed. So a lot of things happened in this crazy and winding journey I took in boxing, and it finally came to the realization that I need to live for God, and if I don't quit my ways with alcohol abuse and even drug abuse that I was doing everything, that I was going to die or go to prison. So I quit, and then all of this, what you're seeing now, is opening up for me.
Unbelievable. I have God bumps as you're talking. That is what a powerful story.
It's great.
Unbelievable. And then like about a year ago you started a podcast. Is that correct?
Well, I wouldn't say I mean, I went on. I just started talking to the guy. There was no starting anything. All of this was an accident. There was no like, I'm gonna have a podcast type thing. It wasn't like that. I was just I think I was on a Facebook Live, and I just started talking about what's going on with, you know, I don't know if I can say it on here. I don't know if this is going on YouTube, but with adrenochrome and
Mm-hmm.
trafficking, and
we're not allowed to go on YouTube at the moment, and so this will
okay,
be
On Rumble.
on Rumble, which is a little more friendly towards free speech.
yeah, yeah. So I just talked about it kind of I was kind of like, to be nonchalant, like just casually speaking to the camera about what's going on, and it went viral. And when that happened, I was like, wait. The next day, I get about 5,000-10,000 views on a video that I do on a Facebook Live, and then I saw the next day it was like, wait a minute, 150,000, 200,000, 300,000. I was like, I better take this off. So I was like, I was very unexpected, and so I didn't know what was going on. And that video ended up getting copied and put on, and just millions of views. And the next thing
Wow.
I know, I'm like, oh boy, what do I do with this now? Because I prayed about it. I was like, I either hide away from this,
Yeah.
or I go all in and embrace it. So I prayed about it. And this was during the time that I went sober. So this was a year and 7 months ago, about. And so I was newly sober. My dad was in the hospital. with heart problems, and I thought I was going to lose my dad. My dad was 85 at the time; he's 86 now. So I thought I was going to lose my dad.
Wow.
And I was going through a really hard time in that period. And then I hit a viral video. So all this weird life changing stuff started happening, and I'm trying to stay sober the whole time. And it was just a matter of that was so hard because I wanted to drink. Believe me, in the beginning there, I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this because all the stress with my dad and then the
Sure.
viral video hitting. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know. I just thought, man, maybe I should just go back to seeing my friends at the bars and chasing skirts and doing what I want to do. And I didn't. I stayed strong and not knowing what was in store for me. I had no. That's the thing people need to understand is that you got to take the leap of faith and the net will appear.
Mm.
And that's the way it works. You just have to take blind faith. It's not. You can't have a plan mapped out. You can't be like because then you're going to let yourself down every single time. So
Yeah.
if you're going to quit a vice, just have faith and know that it will work out in the end. It's just you have to get through the hard times, and you're gonna have really, really bad days, and you're gonna have really, really boring days, and you're gonna be pushed to drink.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can fight through it, it gets easier. And then the next thing you know, you get new hobbies, new friends. I lost all my old friends. I lost every single one of my old
Mm-hmm.
friends. They don't call me anymore. I'm not the fun guy anymore.
I say, you probably didn't lose them. They just probably quit calling you.
Yeah, well,
Because what was it? Let me ask you a question. Drill on that just a second because uh, different professions kind of lend themselves towards cycles. And like our background was network marketing, and since we're 22, 23 years old, we were building like big weekly meetings, monthly meetings, quarterly
Mm-hmm.
meetings, seminars, speak at 20, 25,000 people, an arena. And so you work, 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 and then you got this big payoff. And it created this thing that made it hard for diet, hard for, a lot of things. Because after an event, you want to go out and celebrate. You're like,
right,
oh,
right.
we did it. We did it. High
Yeah,
five.
Mm-hmm.
God, look at that.
Yes.
And it's like, this big blow off steam because you were so disciplined and working towards it. Athletics has a very similar, pattern where you're like hunkered down, training, payoff, reward. So I'm sure there's a process to that,
Mm-hmm.
and the adrenaline of up and down and the emotions of all that. How have you processed the stress and the wins now, without having some of those same crutches to lean on and
Or
habits, the
celebrations.
celebrations and the high fives, and have you learned how to redefine
oh, that's hard.
how you give yourself a high five, how you allow yourself to be
Ooh,
rewarded for a success?
that is so hard. What you just said right there is what I'm dealing with the most. That's the hardest part
Mm-hmm.
right there because boxing was bipolar. Bing, 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 bing. And it was like lots of stimulation,
I'd
lots of
imagine.
glory,
Mm-hmm.
celebrate. I would go for 3 months into a training camp, fight. The climax is the fight. And then it would be boom, it's over.
Your
Mm-hmm.
dog's
It's over.
fighting.
And
Your
then,
dog feels it.
yeah, but you say that too many. No,
Well,
they,
because not a lot of people deal with that in their regular job where, you got a robe and you got a couple of models holding your name and they're playing,
yeah, yeah.
AC/DC and you're walking in an arena.
Seeing my name on my and the fans holding up my name and tons of stimulation you get right away,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's over. And then you go, and then I would disappear for a month and a half, and go to Costa Rica and blow my money and party with friends, and I had all the luxuries of winning and everything that came with winning my name was in on ESPN and big publications, and now that's over. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I went from being like a Superman, a, a heavyweight hopeful prospect, from hero to zero like that.
Mm.
And that was so humbling because when that happened, I saw both sides of humanity. I saw exactly what it felt like to be the superhero, the guy with the cape, and then lose it all and be the guy that was, how I felt, kicked outside naked and cold,
Mm.
and nobody knew you anymore.
Mm.
And that was the most humbling experience of all because now with what's happening in my life, it took time to shift and change. And I went through a very dark period of depression for about 8 years. I was very depressed, like on no man's land. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was almost broke. I was just um, had no purpose. It was terrible, and it just took that 8 years of transition. It was like a caterpillar going through a cocoon. to strip me from my identity, strip me from who I thought I was, and be remade the way God wants me to be, which was, it came to a point where I said, okay, I was going to jail for DUIs. I was, you know, blacking out drunk. I mean, starting to party a lot more, you know, hitting the cocaine, hitting the ecstasy, hitting it all, man. Nothing's going to stop me. Nothing's stopping this train. And then, I remember I was sitting in jail and I was like, this is the third time I've been in jail in half a year. And I was like, this is not good. And then before that, I flatlined twice. So I was thinking to myself, this is bad. And all of 2019, I was getting a nudge in my soul, like a nudge, like God was just nudging me, like, stop drinking, stop it. Something is coming.
That was one of my questions for you. Like, how many times before stopping had you felt like you should stop?
Oh, probably for years, but it was 2019 that it was really just the nudges started turning into pushes and shoves. Like, you got to stop drinking. Something's coming. And I kept hearing that. Something is coming. You need to be clear. You need to be focused. Something's coming. I was like, what the hell's coming? Like, this is. And then I took faith, and on December 26th of 2019, I quit drinking. And when that happened, it was, well, we all know what happened in 2020.
Yeah.
And my dad went into the hospital, and I couldn't. It was just like the most stressful year of my life. But that year shaped me for whatever this is that's happening now.
Yeah.
Is a new purpose for me. Like, this was unexpected.
Let me ask you a question. I'm sorry, I'm kind of.
That's good.
I'm so fascinated by this because it's been a struggle for us most of our life as well. You know, everybody kind of is going through their own battles. Lots of people, there's a million different kinds of addictions out there, you know, and some of them are celebrated. A lot of addictions people get awards for. You know, I look at like Aerosmith. I saw a documentary on them, and they're, you know, on drugs and all kinds of trouble, hard time keeping the band together. And like Eminem has made some similar comments. And then they got sober, and it's like, okay, now can I go out and tour and still be Aerosmith without that, you know, like that mental talk. And I think as a professional athlete, you probably understand self-talk. I mean, there's no way you went into a ring thinking, oh, this guy's probably going to kill me. You know, I mean, well, your self-talk and identifying what's going on in your head, you probably had so much skill with, but then as you come out, you know, you're probably battling your self-talk. Can I be David Rodriguez with, you know, with nothing, like stripped down naked by yourself, you know, in like a racquetball court with the door locked, you know, with like just you, nothing else to define you. Can you still be you?
That was the hardest part. I didn't have an identity besides boxing. So the whole phase of me partying and doing drugs was me masking my hurt, my pain that I had inside my soul of not knowing who I was. And right now, even with me going through what I'm, you know, this new podcast stuff and everything I'm doing, I'm still discovering who I am. I don't. This is a transitional process. This is not something like, oh, I know who I am now, everything's awesome. No, this is still, I did boxing my whole entire life. So for me just to cut it off and walk into something new like what I'm doing now is very alien to me. It's strange. And I just, I'll never be under those bright lights again. And that's sad, but I know that it took 8 years of walking alone and just trying to figure things out and not having any idea of what I was going to do. But I'm telling you, God had to do it this way because otherwise you have to be broken down to be reshaped. And I was broken down. Like, I mean, I was done. I mean, it was like an atomic bomb went off in my life and I was just left to pick up the scraps or the pieces. And I couldn't even fit the pieces together. It was that bad.
Wow. So it's been a year and 7 months since you've been sober. Tell us about that. What's that been like over this last year?
Like it's been a high and a low.
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's you get your highs and lows, but then, you know, at first it's kind of like, and then it evens out. And now I can say that I have much more. There's no like there's no like real highs, and there's no real lows anymore. But
Mm-hmm.
I like the peace and I like the balance. This is much better than the way my life used to be. My life used to be a yo-yo. So my life was like bing bong, like a ping pong ball. It was nuts. And now I'm like, okay, well, it took me understanding that I had problems, and the problem wasn't the alcohol. The problem was me getting the alcohol and putting it in my mouth, and that's the
Mm.
problem. It starts here, and you know, like every vice. So what's making me do this? Because some people can have a couple glasses of wine or a beer and feel fine, but what's making me dive into that and not stop? Well, I had issues to take care of, and I had to recognize them. So the first thing I had to do to deal with those issues, so I had the tools to better fix them, was to stop what I knew was going to get me in trouble, which was alcohol. Alcohol led to all the other stuff that I was doing in jail, almost death, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What was the common denominator? Alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew, okay, I've never really. Every time I've gotten into the ring, I put my faith in God. I would kneel there in the ring and do the sign of the cross and give all glory to God, and then get ready to go in there and say, okay, it's in God's hands. My life's in your hands, Lord. So if I could trust him every time I went into a fight,
Mm.
why can't why am I not giving him an honest shot right now, is the way I looked at it. So it's like, you know, and side note, side note, I was thinking about suicide.
Mm.
So I was like, I'm either going to kill myself or I'm going to give God an honest shot.
Mm.
So I don't want to die and then go wherever I'm going and say, well, why didn't you give me a chance? Well, what do you mean,
Wow.
why didn't I give you a chance? Why did you never quit alcohol? You could have quit alcohol and given me a chance to take you to the promised land. And I would have said, you're right. I didn't give you a chance. So I didn't want to answer to that. So I said, okay, I'm going to stop drinking. And that's the deal I made with God. And, and, and,
Huge.
uh, and so
Wow.
that's it. And, you know, so many people are like, what can God do for me? God doesn't do this for me. God doesn't do that for me. Yeah, but what are you doing for God?
Wow, that's a
What
great
sacrifices are
question.
you
Mm-hmm.
doing for God? You know, you take one step, he takes 100, a million, whatever.
Yep.
Man, that's
You
good.
know, so that's it. So if you can't give up one vice and you complain about God all the time, and you sit there and say, oh, he doesn't do this for me, my life sucks because of this and that and this, well, you're not taking the leap of faith and
Mm.
letting him put the net for you.
That's
That's good.
huge.
I think that's where religion gets in the way of most things. You know, most of God's laws are not there for his pleasure. They're there for our protection.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right,
you know,
right.
we kind of make it the his thing, like, oh, well, God
He's
doesn't
trying to
want me
hold us
having any fun.
down.
God, like,
Yep.
it's like, okay, let's just start with a basic one, like, okay, you shouldn't commit adultery. Well,
Right.
why? Well, if you're living in a community and you're sleeping with other people's wives, you're probably gonna start killing each other. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's
Yeah.
bad.
I mean,
Nope, they're not
or
gonna do
you know,
business with you. They're not
Yep.
gonna do, you know, why you shouldn't lie. Well, why can't God let me lie? Why is he, you know, well,
Because
because
people can't trust you.
you're not going to want to do business with me. You're
Mm-hmm.
not going to want
yeah,
to, you know, buy,
right.
sell, trade. It's like it's much more of our,
Mm-hmm.
you know, our benefit, you know, these basic things than it is his pleasure. Like, don't drink to drunkenness. Well, why didn't God want us having drinking? We kind of find out where's the line and how much can I get away with.
Yeah,
Well, it's like, you know, I've never heard anybody's story that's like, you know, my life kind of sucked. And I found alcohol, and it's like, you know what? Everything just
Everything
got
was
better.
so much better.
yeah.
You know, there is
And
no
you know what's
story.
really, you know what's been really amazing about this journey is that I'm inspiring other people to quit. I get a lot of emails from people that are, hey, I'm this many months sober. This is amazing. I love watching you. Or, you know, you've given me some inspiration. I have friends. I have a certain, one of my best friends. He's now about a month sober. And I told him,
Wow.
man, keep going, man. Keep going. So, like, if I can just be a, you know, an example, you
Yeah.
know, what not to do. But it's like, you know, I think that's good. And then then that's the payoff for me. That works. That's cool. I'm
What,
good with that.
what? Now you made a big difference in your life though, because your story isn't an example of what not to do. Now,
Right.
if you would have continued on a path and gone off the cliff,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
it could have been one of those stories, and there's a lot of them.
But I
But your
did go off the cliff. That's what's so
but
crazy.
but your story is what you did next.
Mm.
Your story is defined
Yeah.
by today, July, whatever it is, 8th or 9th or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you got up today, and what are you doing with your day? and you're
And you're
contributing.
Exactly.
You're giving more than you're taking. You're adding to our life here. You're doing things. You're encouraging your friend that's a month in. It's like that. That's what defines you now. That's your example.
Yeah, but people need to understand. Like I had to hit rock bottom and find out rock bottom had a basement.
He hit a dumb underneath.
And I was like, oh, it goes lower than this. There's a downstairs. No, I just that really how it is, and I had to come to terms like, um, I I had to really, and I'm okay to speak about this publicly because people need. So many people hide. So many people hide. Um, I have a 9 millimeter, and that 9 millimeter was going to find a place in my head, and that was my choice because I knew I was going to go to jail or I was going to end up killing somebody drunk driving or something bad was going to happen, and I couldn't deal with the fact that boxing was over, my life was over. I mean, to me, everything just boom, an atomic bomb. So I decided that uh, I have to give up something in order to give God an honest chance. So I am a work in progress. My life is better. I've attracted new friends, new opportunities that I never could have imagined. Never could have imagined, but I had to do the first step. And that is sacrifice a vice. And it led to many other vices because alcohol leads to so many other vices. So that one thing was the first sacrifice. And then I think I opened up a vacuum was formed, right? A vacuum.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I just toughed. I got tough, and I said, no, don't fill that with something else. Don't put pain pills, none of that stuff. Good things filled that vacuum because you automatically open up a space, and something needs to go into that void, and it's either going to be another vice, or if you just stay tough and hang in there, good things will come, and then that will fill the void.
That is so incredible. And God has really given you this new platform that you are helping a lot of people with multiple things, whether it be sharing your story, your testimony, or interviewing and giving people information that they're looking for. People are hungry. We're finding Americans are really, really hungry. What are some ways that people can follow you?
And there are people that'll listen to you come from your background that aren't going to hear Joel Osteen or some, like that.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, this
Yeah,
guy's.
I
I
tell
relate to
people all
this
the
guy.
time, we're all just mixed up kids at the end of the day. Every single one of us, everything you do as an adult is because something happened when you're a child to your adolescence and formed you who you are today. We're all just a bunch of mixed up kids. Let's just fucking own it. Sorry, I didn't mean to cuss, but I do sometimes. But so we all just
Keep it real. Keep it real. David Rodriguez.
We gotta own it. We gotta
Yeah.
own it. And then once you do that, then you can start helping other people. But
Yeah.
until you help yourself and own it and forgive yourself, which I do daily, is like you can't move on if you just carry that hindrance, that burden, like of you can't forgive yourself because something you did. You got to first forgive yourself and allow yourself to move forward. Otherwise, you're not going to go anywhere. You're just going to be stuck in quicksand. So you got to forgive yourself first and foremost. Kill a vice. Just say, I'm not going to be overeating anymore, or I'm not going to be drinking anymore. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to take pain pills anymore. And then you start attracting better things in your life. That's what's been happening to me.
What were some of the positive things you started putting in that vacuum?
Yeah, that's a great question.
If you can't give me examples, if you want to.
Yeah. First and foremost, I dove into prayer like I've never had before because I needed it because it was like I was at the end of my rope. And so I said, the only thing I do is turn to God. So let's see what happens here.
What did that actually really look like? Because a lot of people listen to here like, man, I grew up in church and there was a priest. He read a prayer. How do I pray? Or does it got to speak in King James? Does it gonna be Latin?
Just come from your heart, man. Just from your heart. You can talk to God anyway. He understands all languages. He understands me. I cuss a lot, so he knows when I'm mad. But it's like he knows who you are and what you have to pray about. He knows your heart. He knows your heart.
So there's no pulling a fast one on God.
No.
It's a
conversation.
conversation.
No, God's not this separate being that's sitting up there in the clouds. It's an all-knowing source. It's a super consciousness we're all connected to. We just have to pick up the phone.
That's really good.
Man, that's good. All right. It's kind of like just saying that because a lot of people jump on this. They're like, but
No, I don't go to churches where there's prosperity preachers and this and that. No, my church is my heart, and I could be outside in the swimming pool. I could be in my den. I could be anywhere. It's just I connect. You connect instantaneously.
But I'd be pretty leery.
Connected.
I'd be pretty leery of the God wants you sick and broke, and he hates your guts church too. Sometimes we say no prosperity thing, then they're like,
it's what resonates with you. I mean, it's what resonates with you. What's good for me may not be good for you. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, like, but I know that we all can pray where we're at any time of the day. I don't need to go to a building to do it. I can do it right here.
That is so good. Absolutely. God's all about relationship.
Yeah,
he wants that relationship with you.
It's so simple that it's so simple that we make it complicated, I feel. And I'm no preacher. I'm not sitting here preaching to people. I'm not Bible beating, none of that. So please, I hope people don't think that. I'm just saying what works for me.
That's good. So you filled it with prayer. What else did you fill it with?
Working out more, eating better, because I knew that it was only a matter of time before I start wanting to, I'm going to take some opiates or something. I don't know, whatever I could think of, like, I'll start taking these pills. So I started, okay, I'm going to spend a little more time in the gym. I'm going to go on walks. Now I take my dog. I can't say that word, so they'll go nuts.
Oh yeah.
So I just started doing little activities that I'm like, okay, I'm bored right now. And what would I be doing? What would the old Dave be doing? Oh, I'd be going to the bar. I'd be going to the bar right now. What do I do? Okay, what do I do? Well, the podcast take up my time, so I do podcast. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll read this book, or maybe I'll take my dogs on a walk, or maybe I'll go see my dad and talk to my dad at the kitchen table for a little bit. Anything to distract me, but you got to get creative. You got to get creative. The boredom is the threshold that will make you trigger your mind to get creative. So don't be afraid of the boredom. You just have to be like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? So anything to not go to the bar and get a drink.
That's good. So let's talk a little bit more about your podcast. I wanted to bring that up earlier. I know, me too. So you have a website called ninoscorner.tv that people can find you at. And that's where a lot of your shows are on there, right?
Can we pull that up there while we're...
Yeah, that's...
Chop. Right,
that's where I keep the fringe content. Like I just had Jessie Saboter on there, who was born into the occult, Satanist, and she talks, and she got out of it, turned her life to God. I talk about that stuff. I have the JuanO'Savin stuff on there. The inside information that people want to divulge into is on there. My fringe content goes on there, and then I go on YouTube. And YouTube is my fluff content that I call fluff, and it's still pretty bad, but it's like, so I don't get my channel bombed. I have my own TV channel.
Smart. That is very smart.
That is a great idea. So you can watch that on Apple TV or any of those.
Well,
services.
Not Apple, because Apple told me that they wanted me to dilute and dissolve some of my content and make it more desirable, censor my content. So I said, forget it. I'm not doing it with you guys.
Yeah.
So it's on Roku, and you can go to the website, but I said no to Apple.
Wow. And then your YouTube is David Nino Rodriguez, correct? On YouTube?
Yes.
I can find you there. And then you also have, is it Instagram that's Nino's Truth?
It's David Nino Rodriguez Boxer, like it says right there, and then also Nino's Truth, because I had to get a backup channel because Instagram just completely cut me off.
Yeah.
They stopped my growth. They completely cut me off. They just killed my channel.
As the producer here to pull this up, I had to do some back searches in order to even pull this up at all, because it was pulling up a David Nino Rodriguez that had 100 followers, and I'm like, I don't think that's the one we're talking about.
Yeah.
It took me a while to find this. It's crazy.
It's crazy. I've been stuck at 151,000 for 3 months when it was growing 1,000 to 2,000 a day.
Oh wow!
And now then they just cut it off. Like it's just it's such evil. You know what I mean? It's such evil, corrupt, communist garbage that I can't wait till we win this. The fact that Trump put in a lawsuit for all this, this is going to be a big win for us.
Yes.
And you guys know, things are coming. The tide's going to turn, and it may take a while for human consciousness to catch up, but it's coming. It's a spanking they cannot get away from. It's coming. However long they want to kick the can down the road is fine with me. They're going to get it even worse.
Absolutely.
So, we're not losing this. There's no way to lose this, and too many people are waiting.
0%.
The 0% chance, but they're going to keep postponing it and prolonging it. Sorry, not going to work.
Well, and what happens is there's so many more people. I mean, look what you're doing. Look what we're doing. Look at how many people are stepping up and doing stuff that wouldn't be doing what we're doing if things would have gone another path.
Exactly. The
Right.
longer we wait, the more exposure is happening.
Keep waking sleeping
That
giants.
too, but see, and they're hoping that they can indoctrinate enough people with what they're doing through censorship and this and that and the liberalism, because they've hijacked liberalism and turning it into communism. That's what they're doing. They're morphing that into communism. And the people who are these entitled liberals really feel they know everything. They have no idea what's happening to them. They're being brainwashed, and it's horrible to see, because mind control is real. And if you watch enough, I don't care what, internet, CNN, Fox, it's all mind control, all of it. And so to me, it's like, this is what's happening, and it's a battle for human consciousness. It's a battle for human consciousness. We're in a war for the mind. The Third World War is the greatest war. It's a war for the mind and the soul.
So true. So true. Our whole thing is wake up, speak up, and show up. We even have a saying, wakey, wakey, just trying to help wake people up, which I've seen, over the last, 7-8 months. It is definitely happening more and more. I think 2020 was a big year for a lot of people, whether it be in the education system or politics or media. People are definitely more aware that it's not what we thought it was, for sure.
No.
And then, once they're awake, then what do they do? And we're really seeing it now. People are starting to speak up and show up. We're seeing, moms and dads and grandparents showing up these board meetings, school board meetings, and they're like, no longer is this, going to be okay. I'm not accepting this. This is not going to happen. They're showing up at community meetings, and it's like, it's pretty exciting to see where we're going, because I think something we say often is we wanted Trump to do 80 million things, but we really need 80 million people to do one thing. We need to save our own country, and we're starting to see people do that. And I know you are too. You're interviewing a lot of people. You're talking to a lot of people. Where do you see this going?
Oh, we're going to win this. It's going to get, and I'm just going to give everyone, don't move the goalpost back 10 yards. But there's so many moving parts and so many things happening that I think we all can see the trajectory of this. So we see the grassroots developing, kind of like a color revolution happening. Like, people are getting behind this, and the audits in Arizona is an example, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, all these audits taking place. I mean, where do you think logically where do you think it's going to go? It's going to go to where the people demand that this guy get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
You're not a real president. You're a fraud.
Right.
You stole the election, and you're going to go to jail. And that's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. So the people are waking up, and I believe that around fall, we're going to start seeing the initial beginning of all this. I think we're going to start seeing September, October, November, some big changes happening. Now, can I say what? I'm not a prophetic, and I'm not a psychic, but I think we all can agree that that's about where we all see something changing.
Well, even the polls show now that the last couple of days, it came out like 50-some% of Americans across the board, not of Republicans or Fox listeners, or of all Americans, don't believe that Joe Biden is the one actually behind the wheel.
I'm surprised that anybody's taking the vaccine, and I'm surprised anyone believes that this fraud, won. Who are you? Like, how are you not awake to what is going on in the world around you, to your surroundings? How do you not have that spiritual component to know what the hell is going on in your life and in your world?
Do you feel like we've kind of hit that wall on the? You think we kind of hit that wall on the vaccine where the people who are first in line, hey, I want it, this good, that they're the first ones there, and then people who aren't going to get it. We've sort of hit that place where it just kind of is what it is now. They're closing down these centers in a lot of places, so it seems like kind of come to a halt of where it's lost all its momentum.
Well, also they're starting the segregation. You get the vaccine and you can come in, or you can go to the game, like the Tokyo Games in Japan. they're not going to have spectators for the Olympics. And it's like, well, and then you have concerts now. Well, if you're vaccinated, you get to pay $10. If you're not vaccinated, $1,000. I mean, this is wrong. And this is all how they, in the real end game of things, they're going to look at people who are not vaccinated as health hazards, and they're now let's dive into a conspiracy here, but it's coming. Camps, they're going to say, oh, you're a health hazard. They're already going door to door. They're going to be going door to door to get you vaccinated or not. This is Nazi Germany right out of the playbook.
Yep.
You don't think other things are coming? You're wrong.
Anything that creates an us and a them.
Before then.
Anything that starts creating the us and the them, any sort of external verification. I mean, obviously, the Jews had the star, on there, but anything that starts to identify people groups externally, where you're placing an external identification, that can't happen.
Right. I agree.
That can't happen. That's never ended well. That's never ended well. That's like somebody getting in the ring with you. It doesn't end well.
To me, it does. No. But that's what I can't believe we're here again. Mm-hmm. And then this cancel culture, and then, the American flag's racist. It's like, do you see what they're doing? This has been decades of conditioning, decades of cultural Marxism, of them going into schools, now going into churches and brainwashing the youth. Like these kids today, they're all liberals, and they don't even have any idea how this country was founded, the true history. They just have these crazy liberal professors preaching about how socialism is good for them. This is crazy.
It's true, and they're indoctrinated in college, and then they're coming out, and they feel like, it's my job now to educate these younger kids as their teacher to make sure that they know, this. And I think something has got to happen. Something has to change in the education system. Do you
the teachers union?
Yeah, teachers unions.
You got it. Like I talked to a good group to have on your show, and I don't know if you had them. Is the Iowa Mama Bears?
Yes.
Yeah.
They are amazing.
People like that. It's like people like that who take it into their own hands and go do what they have to do and make it change. It would stop waiting for other people to make. Like I got a picture the other day from somebody that's they have signs in their yard. They don't have a big social media following, but they're like, well, what can I do? So they put signs in their yard where to look up things like why the election was stolen, where to look up, and they have links on the signs.
That is a great idea.
Yeah. They have a constitution, the constitution on a sign, so people that are walking by can read all this and see all this, and that's a way to start. There's ways to do this if you just get creative.
That is so good, and that's our big thing, with people, because a lot of times we do get a lot of questions like, okay, I'm awake now, what do I do? How do I speak up and show up?
And giving them an action item. Where a lot of people get fearful is then they stop, and when you're not moving, fear creeps in. It's like, like sometimes I get stuck. I'm frustrated on something in business, or I was like, all right, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go like fold the clothes in the dryer, or something. I got to like, I'm going to do one right thing. All right, now, now what can I do next? All right, now I got to get moving and do something. So like you're saying, put a sign in the yard, post social media. It's like, I love PragerU. They have this great campaign out there about the flag. And they have this whole media package in there of like social media posts and things that are already prepared with like really clever things that you can share that are like thought provoking. It's guerrilla warfare. It's planting a seed for other people to be able to think. And that's where we got to win the battle. You mentioned earlier World War III is a battle for the minds and the hearts and the souls, but we have to fight in that way as well. And just sitting on your couch, just watching Fox News, mumbling under your breath, cussing as you walk around the house is not going to change things. If we're in a battle of the minds, it means you got to engage your mind. You have to fill your mind. You have to renew your mind with something more powerful than the people you're coming against. You have to prepare better ideas, better arguments. You have to win at the water cooler when you're having conversations. And that doesn't mean calling somebody stupid. It means you have to have a better argument. You got to be able to set a better idea next to them, or say, that's a great question. Have you ever heard this? Have you ever watched this? And give them a 5-minute PragerU video, or send them to your podcast or our podcast, or give them a meme. As funny as it is and as lame as it is, we're kind of in a war of memes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is that. It's an informational war.
Mm-hmm.
And it's psychological, informational, spiritual, the whole thing. And I always say this to people, like, if you can't make big leaps or big jumps, just chip away, and that builds to a big leap. It's if you just little steps will lead to this much,
Mm.
just maybe not as quick as a big jump, but little steps will get there still. So just go through the process. It's like, don't be scared that, oh, well, I don't have a big following on social media, or I don't have this or that. Well, take the little steps, and that'll lead to the bigger steps.
Mm.
But people they get defeated, and they just, well, I just can't do it because it's too hard. The dam will break if you keep chipping at the dam. I promise you, it'll break.
Ah, that's such a great point. That is such a great point. Thank you so much, David, for joining us today. This has been so much
Really.
fun.
I got one more question for you as we wrap up.
See, we told you he's going to
Yeah.
be like this.
This is my interview, woman. Look out. In closing, I'll wrap it up. I do got one last question for you. But first of all, here, while we got you in front of everybody, will you agree to come on again in the future?
Absolutely.
We
Of
would
course.
love that. This has been so much
There
fun.
is so much going on behind those glasses, and
Under that cap.
and as things continue to unfold, I would love your take on it and have this kind of be an ongoing thing. We're going to be doing some live events on our own as well, and I would love to just people need to be exposed to what you're doing, what you're thinking, what you're seeing, and as you're evolving. As we close up, can you finish up with the tattoo on your left arm? What is that, and what is it about, and kind of give people the meaning? I've heard you talk about that before, but
Yeah, that's in fact, this is really weird because I got this over 10 years ago, and it's from Emiliano Zapata.
can you get up there? We can see it a little
Oh.
better. We got the full screen
There
here.
we go.
Okay.
Okay. Yep.
I see it? I
Well,
don't know if
it's
you-
nice
Yeah,
you
we
have
can see
it's
it.
nice you have a big arm too. That helps. It's a good canvas.
There you go. Yeah, it's Emiliano Zapata. It says, "Better to die on your feet than to live a life upon your knees." Basically, talking about the government, talking about you know, socialism. So to me, that's what it represents. It's better to fight for something and die than to live upon your knee, like a peasant asking for a handout from the government. It's don't let the government take care of you is basically how I interpret it. So fight for a purpose. It's the last freedom you'll ever have. It's the
That
last
is
freedom.
huge.
The last freedom of all freedoms is you're willing to fight. If you give up the will to fight, then you're defeated. You're done. That's it. You have no more freedom. Your last true freedom is fighting.
Man.
Drop the mic. That's incredible.
That is a great note to end on. I knew that it would be. You walk that out. You live it. You don't give it lip service. You keep getting back up. You're continuing to fight. You're a great example for people to look at, for people to model off of, and you just kind of keep getting them doing the next right thing, and you're helping to save America. And I thank you for that.
Like I said, don't do as I did. My life was crazy. It's still crazy, but if I can help people along the way, and I talk about my mistakes and my faults openly, because we're all human. We all make mistakes. Accept it, own it, and move on.
But there's a really attractive freedom in that.
Yeah.
Yes.
There really
sure.
is, and people are hungry for that.
Forgive yourself. You move on.
Love it. Thank you again, David, for joining us today. This has really been a ton of fun.